It's the Hershey Kisses.
So this may be surprising to some of y'all, but we hope that it's not. But me and my sister Katie, we are virgins, and we're going to be talking about the choices and trade-offs that come along with that.
And the challenges.
Y'all know we always keep it real in this podcast, so it's speak now
or forever hold your peace.
So, y'all, this is a little bit too grown for me, so I'm going to leave and play my Roblox. So, bye, Finley Jazz.
So, y'all, today we have a special guest on the podcast to get perspective from a black male, shining light on black men. So, what's up, Jeremiah?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Jeremiah, are you a virgin?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay. We're about to get some different perspectives just based on that. So, just to start off, of course, we are all about black families, building strong black families, black relationships. Just as a prompt to get us started, I'm going to ask a question. Arranged marriage or do it on your own? And
I mean, I think either could work. I mean, depending on what your choice is, depending on what your cultural tradition might be, your family tradition is, I think either works in that way, in my opinion.
I guess it would depend on family values. And I would probably say, yeah, it just really depends on what your foundations are and what you're building upon. So if you have good family values and your family is going to help you, then arranged marriage. And I guess kind of what we're doing, our parents are basically like vetting our prospects. So I guess that would be considered arranged marriage in a way, so it's arranged marriage.
How in-depth is the vetting process, out of curiosity, what you say?
Yeah, so our family is pretty traditional. We don't even believe in the relationships, like the kissing and cuddling and all that. So really our thing has just been to build strong friendships with males so that we can have sort of brothers who can guide us and protect us. And a lot of people will say oh, that way you're not going to get any experience in a relationship. You need to know what you're looking for. But honestly, I feel like I've learned a lot about navigating boys and men just from having male friendships, especially during prom season. A lot happened there. And I'm glad that I never dated this person. But from my experience, they wanted something that I wasn't offering, which was sex, and they wanted to do something after prom. But yeah, and I'm happy that my dad was involved in that interaction because he kind of guided it, and I ended up going with someone that I actually wanted to go with, who was a real gentleman and actually showed up for me. So I'm happy that it worked.
I love that. I mean, how can we start to really create and cultivate healthy relationships, with men and women that don't lead to anything other than just a really valuable friendship and lessons learned? So I think that's valuable. That's been instilled in both of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Karis, can you talk a little bit more about that situation, mommy and our dad's role on that?
Yeah. So when I was asked out to prom and said that I was going to go with this person, we were friends for a while, talking and texting on the phone. But then he would kind of say some things that were a little bit misleading. There was this one situation that happened where I asked him what are you doing? And he said that he was horny and sleepy. I get that wasn't necessarily an explicit oh, I want to have sex with you. But it's why did you have to say that? And so it would just be a different text like that. And he would say, I think that sex is a fun activity. And that's just not very respectful, especially to a friend that, you were just going to prom with. That's all it was supposed to be.
And how do you set boundaries in moments like that when someone kind of crosses that line? It's how did that even happen? How do you go about saying, hey, that's too much, but also remaining respectful and maintaining the friendship?
I made it clear to him what my values were. Yeah, I'm just not. I'm not about that. For me personally. The way we were raised is to save that for the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so if we're trying to look for a husband to be married to, why would we waste that on someone that we actually don't intend to be with? And so, that's kind of just how we navigate through that and prioritizing, marriage in the future. Okay, so I have another prompt. And this one is gonna be a little hardcore.
Hardcore.
So the prompt is F-boy or gentleman?
I think the obvious answer would be gentleman, of course.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to go for a F-boy, especially since in that situation, you're not the only person like that they're dealing with. If anything, they have like this history down the line of not treating women right. So if you're going for this F-boy per se, you're not going to be treated right. You're going to be broken heart left and right. Also hearing from experience of other girls talking about the same dude, why are you going for him?
A gentleman, yeah, I think that's pretty clear. I mean, who wants to be around bad company, you know?
Jeremiah, can you also share a little bit of perspective on like any experiences you've had with women this far and like how you choose to treat women in a relationship or even a platonic friendship?
I speak about Shamir because I'm my platonic friend. I hold her to the highest level of respect. Shamir is probably one of the most brilliant folks that I know. In any room that I'm in, I speak highly of Shamir.
That's great.
Because I think she's going to be the next trillionaire of the world. I mean, and so I think that in any case, we need to ensure that we really are trying to find ways to elevate opportunities for men and women to both speak highly of each other in every space that they enter. Because the pettiness and the gossiping, it really doesn't lead to anything that's fruitful for building long-term relationships and even in level of community. We really need to start uplifting each other in that way. So Shamir, I definitely hold to a high regard.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like that a lot of people like don't see black men as that, like what you're looking for, just lifting her up and being positive about it, or may think that like men are just out here only looking for one thing. And yeah, that's obviously not true based off of what you said. Just another way that me and my family, we set boundaries. So my dad has a thing where he needs to actually shake the boy's hand that I'm going with. Okay, so back to my prom situation. So with the first guy I was supposed to be going with, of course, he was like crossing boundaries and everything like that. So my dad actually wanted to meet with him and his father so that everyone can like come to a consensus about like how the night was gonna go. And so when he tried to do that, the first original prom date I was supposed to have, his mom ended up like sending my mom like angry text messages and was kind of like yelling at her, and she was like mad about that, like, no, me and my man will not be able to meet with you guys. And it was just like, wow.
Yeah, like what's
why
going on?
would you be like okay with that? And I mean, like, Jeremiah, like from your perspective, do you feel like that's a lot to ask, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in, axiology, right? Our value sets. And I think, my values are my values, your values are your values. You can respect my values or not, and then if you don't, we can part ways. But if we're hoping to build any type of relationship, at some point, my values need to be respected. And then the values of not only myself, but my family and the community that I come from. So no, I don't think it was a hard ask, but as a young man that's still growing and developing, he also needs to be looked at with some level of grace, right? As a growing young man, to learn from this type of opportunity, and hoping that his parents learn something from this opportunity as well, on why you can't show up in that way, especially as a young man who's developing. He needs these opportunities to learn. So I'm just thankful for your family to even step in and provide that level of education to them about that. So yeah.
And Kara, just to add on to like your situation, I know at the beginning they even agreed on meeting with our parents and having dinner with them, but then they had canceled last minute. So like right before, like the 2 days or a day before prom.
Yeah.
What was that? That was the day before prom?
Yes.
Yeah, day before prom, they had completely canceled on her and was like, yeah, we're not going with you anymore. So Karis had to quickly get a dress, and that was like, oh my gosh, her dress, like, was able to just come through and provide that for her.
Yeah, and so with my second prom date, still had that same value. Wanted to shake hands with my prom date, let him know, like, this is how I would like my daughter to be treated for the night. Like, is this something you can respect? And everything went fine that evening. And And I'm happy that I ended up going with Alex, and yeah, we had a great time. So
I think that was a blessing in disguise, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I'm
what I say
saying?
too.
I mean, you got a chance to, one, not waste time with someone who doesn't respect your value set. You got to enjoy yourself with someone who does that you actually wanted to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just reinstills the fact that it's okay to have boundaries and it's okay to stand on your morals, because good things are going to come in the end when you do so. So I think that's phenomenal.
Thank you.
So, Jeremiah, how do you feel about women that are, girls that are in high school and just keeping their virginity and going throughout life like that?
Yeah, as a black man, I think, and kind of going back to that axiology point, your values are your values. If that's how you want to operate your life, because that's what you feel is best for you, you should have every right to do so. But I also know that some women don't choose that route, and they have different options and opportunities that come their way, and lessons that they still learn in those spaces, because this lesson's going to be coming from both sides of it. So no, I believe the folks have full right over what they do with their lives and their bodies. As long as they're not hurting and harming someone else, right? Then other folks need to step in for sure. But it seems like you both are on the right path towards living really phenomenal lives. So that's great.
Mm-hmm. So we can get on to the next question. So, get married or live your best life?
Well, I feel like for me personally, it would be get married, because that would essentially allow me to live my best life. Yeah, because a lot of times when like black women believe in like the value of like having fun in their 20s, like going out on like different dates and just being with a bunch of different guys, I feel like yes, it may be fun at that time, but in the end you don't really get anything from it, because while men's like value, like it appreciates over time, women's value depreciates over time. And I feel like if you want to live your best life, I feel like it's best to do that when you actually have a secure partner that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. You guys are able to go places, you guys are able to have fun and do all these different things together, because meanwhile, while like say a girl is having like a lot of like sexual relationships like during her like years of 20, like unfortunately it's definitely harder to find a husband at the end of the line, because a lot of like high value men are actually looking for women who are young, haven't really been in a lot of relationships, and are just like looking for that one secure partnership. So yeah, just keeping that perspective in mind. But you guys can add as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's I guess there's a negative connotation of living your best life, because I mean, my definition of living my best life could be much different than your definition, and then what does that look like when finding a partner, and so that's interesting. I'm almost curious about like what determines the value of a man versus the value of a woman. Like, who's the determiner of that value? Is it the woman, or is it the man who makes that determination of said value?
I feel like we're living in like this society where women and men are placed on like a different value scale, where a woman's value may lie more in her appearance rather than her mind, her intelligence, and where a man's lies in his intelligence and how much value, like how much money he has, like how much money he's making. Because like a man could be ugly, but a woman could be like, okay, but he has like a lot of money compared to this guy who's very attractive. Like, I want to go with him because he's going to be able to give me the best life. Or a man can be like, okay, well, she's smarter, but she's ugly, though. And this woman is more beautiful, and she can give me beautiful children. So he might go with her. So I guess it just depends on where a man and a woman just see their value as in society.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like it is unfortunate the way that society views women and men. And so women, like, if we do the same acts that some men do, like we're kind of looked at as like, it's kind of, we're given like a negative perception in terms of that. But I realize you kind of have to play the game at the end of the day, because I do feel like a lot of women try to ignore the way things are, and yes, we can change it to a certain extent, but you also like have to be mindful of it.
Yeah. And I would agree, like, play the game and see where it kind of leads you. Because just because you're attracted doesn't mean that you're going to go anywhere in life. And who says you're going to actually marry, like, this rich man? You know, I gave that sort of scenario. That doesn't mean that it's actually going to work out in real life the way that you want it to. You know, it all depends on, like, who you know, the network that you have, if you want to be with this rich guy. But there's only 1% of people who are actually rich in the world. So who says that you're actually going to be with that type of person? So I guess it just depends on how it works out.
And then, Jeremiah, I just want to ask, do you see marriage in your future, or what are you looking for in terms of women as you get older?
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing marriage in my future. Do I have a time frame as to when I'll get married? No, I don't have a time frame. Definitely focusing on work. Yeah. So no, I don't have a time frame for sure. But you know, as I've been like navigating this relationship journey, I'm learning that I'm looking for a partner, not a dependent. And so kind of going back to that value piece, right? And actually finding someone who's actually not just looking to kind of just build on top of you, but actually building with you. And that's been something that's been very interesting to navigate. Coming from my background, where our motto I went to University of Detroit Jesuit, so it's to be a man for others, right? And so constantly living a life where you're serving, you're giving, but then what they don't share with you, that there's a lot of takers in the world as well, right? And so now you're trying to navigate that space to where you're not over giving because you're giving too much of yourself to where now it's not enough for yourself, and determining what that looks like for you. So yeah, it's been interesting, kind of navigating what long-term commitment looks like. So having these type of conversations really is helping me kind of figure out, what do I value and what don't I value, so that when I make that decision, I know, what my steps are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And then our next question, like, if someone was to ask us, like, why decide to keep it pure? Katie, if you want to jump on this, I know I already talked a lot, so.
I would say helps in your marriage. For example, knowing that there's nothing going on in your past, knowing that your partner is going to be safe and trusting you, knowing that you are just this person just for them. Now, I can't speak for like my future partner in the future, like will I think of his past or anything like that, but just knowing that I'm more secure in myself and I'm not insecure, I could possibly not be insecure in the future. Like if that was a part of the argument, like, okay, but what if they're like not doing what you're doing, like not being virgins or anything like that? But who says that that is something that I'm worried about? I'm kind of just focusing on myself, and I think it also builds this sort of sense of confidence that you have within yourself. Knowing that you're not with all these people just for the fun of it or just because, well, I want to try this out or I want to try this out. You're kind of staying secure in yourself, going on this path of, okay, I'm focusing on my education, building with my family, and then finding a partner and going from there.
Yes. Preach to the choir. And I also want to ask, so Jeremiah, like, what do men, like for viewers watching, what do men look for in relationships? Because some people think that men are only looking for like sex and just all these like lustful things or like just going from girl to girl. And I feel like it's just not the reality. So yeah, if you want to touch on that.
I think my answer is going to be a little cliche, but I think it's just partnership. I mean, really just tying to, what value do you add to the relationship? Am I better off with you or without you? In that case, right? And where do we stand within that? And I think that's where that lust and those other things come in, because some men then stay and women stay in relationships that aren't good for them because they get trapped by these other things that don't actually align with what their personal strategic priorities should be and are for their their long-term growth and whatever their life and their aspirations are. So yeah, it's partnership, and then everything that comes along with healthy partnership.
Yeah. I also think it's about like just looking for the right person, because if you're looking in a pool of people that is just gonna like give out toxicity, then that's what you're gonna get in the end. And I feel like there are a lot of men that women are actually not watching for that can actually be beneficial to them, whether
right.
in platonic relationships or friendships.
And I think that goes back to your question, F-boy or gentleman. Like, most women probably may not look at the gentleman because they might be too nice or they might be too, like, to pushing forward the future. They probably might be like, okay, but I want to get married. And they're like, no, not right now. You know, I kind of want to live my best life. I kind of want to party. I just want to drink. Like, I want to do these things. But the F-boy is going to provide you with a life that is with a child. Like, you're not going to be able to live this best life that you actually want because you're going to be shot down a different path because you're going to end up with children who are not going to be able to give you that life that you're dreaming about.
It's a lack of investment in the long term. They're
Right.
focused on the short and enjoying it and having fun, but then we're like, oh, wait a minute, I just wasted 10 years of my life not doing really much of anything when I could have been developing and building for that long-term success that you're hoping to see. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, we all have a limited amount of energy. And so I feel like we have to figure out where would be best to invest that energy and actually be thoughtful about that so that we're actually earning something back
Right.
from that in the end.
You want to return on your investment, you know,
Yeah.
right? And if you've been investing in crap, you're going to get crap back. So, you know, what good is it?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
YOLO. You only live once. Let's spend the life.
Well, you know,
Yeah. And I feel like the wrong types of relationships are also pushed in mainstream culture. And so
Yeah.
that's why a lot of us are having a hard time finding the right person because we're told to like look at this popular person that, you know, everyone's looking at. But okay, have you ever introduced yourself to the quiet boy that was over there who may just be nice and looking for a healthy relationship?
So I know we talked a bit about the different values of today, like traditional values that you want to focus on with you being a provider and you looking for a woman with more emotional value to give you. And you also building with her, be able to communicate and build together. And we also talked a little bit more about baby mama culture and how a lot of women today are going more into that, where marriage is not really a thing that's in the Black community. And usually people are just like having sex young. A lot of teenage pregnancies are like of today's day and age. And we're just not growing and we're not building in the Black community like how we need to.
Yeah, and there's actually a statistic, 72% of Black women are unmarried. And we have currently a crisis of single parent households. And I feel like our Black families and relationships can be a lot stronger. And we also have a lot of negative stereotypes of Black men talking about how Black men are deadbeats.
They're cheaters.
Yeah. N's ain't S is what everybody be saying. But Black men are really kings out here. And I think we had a prime example of that from Jeremiah who came on the podcast. Yeah.
No, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you all. And I completely agree. The only way for the next generation to achieve their aspiration is by ensuring that Black families become stronger. And the only way for that to happen is for us to really ensure that we're building equity in these spaces for the long term. So I'm really excited to see how this conversation really impacts the next generation in the decisions that they make. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. And would you be able to say Hershey Kisses Out with us?
Yeah, sure.
Hershey Kisses Out.
Amazing. Jeremiah, stick around.